Hi everyone, today we are going to continue our discussion about the if and else conditions. Let's have a very quick review on our content covered yesterday, or last lecture. The first one is Boolean. So Boolean is a data type built in Python which can only hold two possible values, true or false, right? And then comparison operators. We have greater than, smaller than, greater or equal to, smaller or equal to, and equals, which is to check two values and see if they're the same. And we also have the not equals, checking if those values are different. And we talk about the single pair of the if and else, which means, well, we are going to check a condition, and based on whether the condition is a true or a false, and then we enter one of those two blocks. So we can either go to the if branch, and then there is a code block, or if the condition is a false, and then we go to the else branch, and then there should be another block here. And that is the simple if and else block structure in Python. And today we are going to see some more complicated structures of if and else, and there are two structures. One is nested if and else, and another one is chained if and else. And those structures are useful when we have multiple conditions or multiple status we want to check. And to make our coding more interesting, we are also going to see the first module, which is a random module. That is a module that we can generate random numbers. Okay, so the nested condition. We have seen the single if and else condition, which is we check one condition and then we go to either the true branch or the if branch or the else branch. And for the nested condition, this simply means that inside one of the branch, we can add another if and else branch. So like in this case, if we check the first condition, if the first condition is a true, we go to statement A. So this is the first if branch. And then if the first condition is a false, what are we going to do? We are going to go here and check another condition. And then if the second condition is a true, there's a true branch. And or if the second condition is false, we have another set of the statements. So there are a total of 3 different branches. Okay, so this is the idea on why we are using the nested conditions. The reason is simple. If we only have 2 branches, that is a if else. But if we have possibly 3 branches or even more, and probably the easiest thing is we have to plug in a if condition inside if branch or inside an else branch, and then we can facilitate 3 or even more possible branches. Okay, so this is the possible structure. And another thing I want to highlight is, well, be careful about the indentation. Okay, like for this if, and then we have the colon, and then we start a if branch, and in the else we have to indent everything a little bit further. So this means we have the if and else inside the else branch. So for the inner if and inner else, we do have to indent them a little bit further so that both the inner if and the inner else will be considered part of the else branch. Okay? And let's see example. Say if the x is a -10, and then we are going to check if x is smaller or smaller than 0, and then we print x is a negative number. Okay, and else. So this is the else branch. Well, and then we want to check if x is greater than 0, and if x is greater than 0, we print x is a positive number. Well, but there is another possibility. If x is indeed a 0, which means x smaller than 0, that's a false. And then x greater than 0, that is also a false. And what is the leftover condition? The leftover condition for this else is x is exactly 0, right? So we print x is a 0. So, well, if we are given the x to be a -10, what is going to happen? We are going to check the first condition. The first condition is a true. So we are going to print x is a negative number, right? And what if x is a positive 10? So if x is positive 10 and x smaller than 0 will give us a false. And then we have to go to the else range. And inside of the else range, we check another condition, which is if x greater than 0, that gives us a true. So we will go to this if branch, and then we print x is a positive number. And eventually, if x is indeed a 0, we check the first condition, that is a false. We go to the else branch, we check another if, that is also a false. So we are going to take the else inside the else, right? So we print x is a 0. Okay, so let me write a little more code. So I have to create a new file, and that is 06 in lecture coding. Okay, yep. So let me see. Well, the first thing I want to show you is, well, let me create an example first. Say I want to do barbecue today, and then I create a variable called can barbecue equals true. Okay, so I assume I can do barbecue, and then if Rini equals true, and then can barbecue equals false. And then I find that Rini is not defined. So let me say Rini equals false. Okay? So, well, the logic is quite clear. So I'm assuming that I can do barbecue today. But if it's Rini, and then if the Rini equals true, and then I'm going to say, okay, can barbecue equals false, saying it's Rini, I can't do barbecue. Okay, so the first thing is, well, do you like this version of the code? So let me add a comment and say this is version 1. Okay, and then I'm going to create another version. And before I do that, I'm going to comment out all the code here, and I do another version, which is Rini equals false. And then I say if Rini equals true, and I define can barbecue equals false, and otherwise else can barbecue. Okay, so well, if we do this version, and eventually I want to check can barbecue. Okay, so well, and this will be my version 2. Okay, so the logic is kind of the same, and the different thing is in the version 1, I define can barbecue outside the if and else, and in the second version, I define the can barbecue inside the if branch and another definition in the else branch. So it doesn't matter it is Rini or not, can barbecue will be defined anyhow. So let me run the second version and see how does it work. Okay, so I got it true. Well, and for this version, well, no matter we go to the first branch or the second branch, and then I always gonna have the can barbecue equals true or false. Okay, so I'm gonna comment the version 2, and then I want to get the version 1. So on version 1, well, the cool thing is I don't really need an else here. Why? Because an else has already been covered here. So at the very beginning, I'm assuming can barbecue is true. So that is outside the if and else. So I'm an optimistic guy. I assume that I can do barbecue today. And if it is Rini, and okay, I have to change my mind, and we should handle here. So if it's Rini, I change my mind, I can't do barbecue. So it doesn't matter if we have the else here, because if the Rini is a false, and then we are going to continue having the can barbecue as a true, so we don't need the else branch here. So there are two different versions, version 1 or version 2. In this case, it doesn't matter which way you like. So for the version 1, it seems that you write a little bit less code, right? And then for version 2, you are writing just a little bit more code because you are defining the can barbecue once and twice. So you are writing version 2, you write a little bit more code, but the logic is clear or even easier, a little bit easier to see. So version 1 or version 2, and well, there's no good or bad choice, and you can decide by yourself. Okay, so I'm gonna pause my video here, and in the next video, I'm gonna write a little bit more code for you.